Most people think about self-improvement completely wrong. So today I want to highlight how most people think about self-improvement, which is probably the exact way that you're most often thinking about it, and you don't even realize it. And then I'm going to unpack the correct perspective to have on self-improvement that actually unlocks lasting change and radical transformation in a man. Today will be somewhat of a continuation of the conversation from our episode yesterday. So if you haven't heard that yet, go check that out after this, and it can add a little bit more color to the conversation. Okay, so here's how most people think about and approach this topic. You want to change something in your life. Maybe that's how you eat. Maybe that's getting more consistent with exercise. Maybe that's being less easily angered by your kids. Whatever it is, you'll get a spark of motivation and you'll begin to work on the plan. You dive into the target behavior. You decide what you're going to do differently. You start developing a plan for building these new habits or behaviors. You might even put in place systems. You have accountability. You ask people to hold you to it, or you might even have coaching or whatnot. You're taking action towards building this new thing. Does that sound familiar? And the most common result of this is that you make some progress, at least for a time. Generally, people can build some things into their life, some new things into their life, and they can have some success for a season. Then life hits you one day, and some things just get off track. The kids get sick, you get busy, work gets busy, you're traveling, schedules at home are chaotic, and you look up a few days or a few weeks later and you realize that you've totally dropped what you started. Does this sound familiar too? Most people think of change like framing out new walls. It's like a construction that's happening on building on top of a foundation. You know, better walls, better fixtures, better paint, the works. But here's the problem. The foundation is still faulty. I was reading in the Bible to my family at dinner last night, and we were in Ephesians, where Paul says that we put away lying and speak the truth. And I asked them, what do you think it means to put away lying versus to just stop lying? And Paul is describing this right after he says to take off the former way of life, the old self, and then to be renewed in the spirit of your mind and put on the new self. I believe Paul is describing a way of approaching the pursuit of doing something different that is nuanced for sure, but categorically different than most people think. Most people think about the behavior of stopping living or working out more, or eating well, or kind of keeping your cool with the kids. But the behavior wasn't his first focus, actually. In this kind of conversation in Ephesians, the first focus was the man. You see, like we talked about yesterday in regards to killing off the old man, we must recognize that our foundation is faulty. If we try to build new walls and better methods on top of a faulty foundation, it doesn't matter how pretty, how new they are, they're eventually going to shift, lose stability, or completely fall down. The foundation itself has to change. The man who is making these commitments has to become different. So back to Paul's reference about lying, we're putting away lying because it's no longer an option for the new man. We're not simply stopping it. It's like we're packing it up in a box with these other things that we no longer need, and we're taking it and dropping it off at a donation spot like Goodwill or something like that, a thrift store. My kids are often asking me to get toy bins down from their closet. We keep all their toys in these individual bins stacked at the top of their closet, and when they want to play with something, they have to ask us, and then we get it down, and they play with it for a while, we pack it up, put it away. And so they will get to playing with it and thinking about something else, and they'll run off to play elsewhere, and they'll leave the toys out. And it's almost guaranteed that if we leave them out, the boys eventually come back at some point and they dabble with those toys some more. Why do they do this? Because they're available. They're an option. But if I packed them up back in the box and I put them back in the closet at the top shelf, it wouldn't even be there for them to dabble in anymore. It's not even an option that it's available. The availability is totally gone. And I think this is what Paul is showing us, that when we put off the old man, when we put on an entirely new man, we can more easily put away those things which used to be normal for us. It's about our focus and our vision. If we take the radical approach of viewing the old version of us as dead, that we are drawing a line in the sand and that man is now dead, the version that struggled with consistency, the version that snacked too much, the version that sees the world through certain lenses, producing certain narratives about things, we can now draw a line. We can put away the old things, but that can only happen with the new man, not with the old man. The current version of you can't do the things that you want to do. Otherwise, you'd be doing them. That version has to die, and a new version has to be brought forth. You need to be renewed in the spirit of your mind, transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you can live as a new man. And then and only then can you put away the old things for good. So if you are struggling to make changes in your life right now, it's likely because you haven't become a different kind of man. You're trying to run new software on an old operating system, trying to run new apps on old OSs. You need a totally new operating system. And that's what we are all about. We want to build systems. We want to create structure. We want to develop habits, but we do all of it in partnership with transformation, not change, of the inner man. So if you're curious to explore this topic more, check out the link in the comments to grab a copy of the Mission Fit Father ebook that unpacks the foundational strategies that make this kind of transformation possible and lasting.